Well, I'll begin with, just really proud of the way our team had a will to prepare this week. Getting it at 5 a.m. on Monday after a double overtime loss, requires a group to bounce back on very short notice. We had to come back in on Monday and begin our preparation for Nevada. And you don't accidentally win football games. It's hard to win. You just look around college football today, a number of teams struggling to win, and they're pedigree programs. And our kids put in the time, they put in the effort, and it wasn't lucky that they won the game today. They prepared to win. So our winning was the residual of real good preparation. They prepared, they earned the win today, and you get what you deserve in college football, and they deserve to win today. Individually, some young players got a chance to go out there and compete, and a number of different receivers go out and make some plays. I thought we defensively tackled better, played the ball better in the air, just made the kind of improvement that I was looking for from week 1 to week 2. Game ball went to C.J. Sanders. He continues to be very impressive in our special teams game, as well as some key catches for us as well. So, I think overall pleased with, as I said to them, even after their loss, they got a great resolve, and their will is very strong. So it's a good group. I think finally we felt like from an offensive standpoint, it was important to continue to run the football back-to-back weeks, rushing over 200 yards. That's important to us, and we'll continue to emphasize that with a high percentage completion again from Deshaun, and that's kind of who we'll be most of the year is high percentage completions. Move the ball around to a number of receivers. There was not one guy that's going to end up with 100 catches, but you're going to see a lot of guys touch the ball. And again, Adams, Williams, Folston, number of guys that can run the ball effectively, including the quarterback. So with that, we'll open up to questions.
Brian, they challenged your defense early with that fourth and a little less than a yard, and you guys responded there. Can you evaluate that moment and your defense's kind of push after that moment?
Yeah, again, I think, they came out and ran some triple option, some wildcat, a little bit of everything. I knew going in that, their offense was going to be difficult. They were going to get some yardage. They're very creative on the offensive side of the ball, and it was going to require a lot of discipline. And, we needed some confidence too, so that fourth down stop was definitely a confidence builder for our defense. And I think that really gave us, some momentum going into the next couple of drives.
TV said Sean Crawford's injury was a torn Achilles. Is that correct? And how do you move forward without him?
Like we did. Coleman goes to corner. Julian Love is, at the nickel. You saw, Devontae Vaughn is out there. Julian Love, will have to play a little bit too. But it's the next man up. And I thought Nick did some really good things. He was on body. He fell down on that one opportunity that they had a big pass completion in the third quarter. But Nick played with much better technique, a lot more confidence, and he's got to be that kind of player for us with Sean now lost for the season.
Coach, you were back to your base defense a lot more this week. Can you just kind of give an overall impression before you get to the film about how you thought your front seven played against Nevada?
Well, I think it comes down to our ability to stop the run effectively in our base defense, and if we can get into our base defense, we feel pretty confident that our front four is is really good, and we were better in our safety support. We were better in our linebacker play across the board. We just, obviously got caught into some personnel mismatches last week against, the tempo of Texas. So we've made some adjustments there, and we feel pretty good that we'll continue to make the progress necessary to be a good front seven.
First quarter, just kind of a couple things kind of got in your way. Second quarter, you scored 25 points, got rolling. Was it just making some corrections to what you weren't doing? Was there some adjustments you guys made to get flowing in that second quarter?
Yeah, I think we had a couple of missed opportunities offensively, but you're still trying to feel out an opponent, what they're doing offensively. We were making some adjustments, and then, we missed a couple of opportunities, I think, offensively more so. I knew defensively they were going to move the ball a little bit. There was a bit of a, the wind was a bit of a factor in terms of some of our throws that were left out there. But, again, I don't know that we were terribly concerned. We felt like, we were going to make the appropriate adjustments necessary to move the ball.
With Torrey out, you started the game with guys who entered the season with 2 career catches as a unit. And early in the game, it seemed like Equanimous and CJ were a part of it. Was that just sort of the flow of the game? Was there a concerted effort to kind of get those young guys and those new guys going, get them involved? Or
no, we wanted to get them involved early. We felt like it was important to get, Corey and Stefferson and those kids some touches early, get them some confidence, and if they got some confidence, they'd make some plays for us. And obviously, getting Stefferson the touchdown catch was a big catch for him. Getting some confidence there. But no, there was a concerted effort to get them the football. Now, obviously, there's a lot of confidence in Equanimous, and I think Deshaun starts to look for him in certain situations as well.
With him and CJ, can you just kind of speak to what you've seen from them? I mean, these are guys that didn't play a whole lot last year offensively. They seem to look, pretty comfortable out there. What is it that you've seen from them that's allowed them to kind of adjust so quickly?
Well, that's really what we work on all, when those kids were leaving, the program, we had the spring and the summer to really spend time at developing, because we knew that they had to be the next guys in. And we had a lot of confidence that we were going to be able to turn over a very, very good group. But they needed, obviously to work together. And so they got a lot of work in the spring, a lot of work in the summer, and they'll get better as the season goes. We recruited what we feel are good players that will continue to grow and develop together.
Brian, here. Deshaun's game that he can be a high percentage, 15 of 18 today, without maybe taking the deep shots that you guys had a bit of an identity last year. What does that say just about the way his game's evolved, the way he sees the field maybe a little bit more than he did last year?
Yeah, I think he was a little bit more patient in certain areas. He slides in the pocket well, and especially, and I think you can see this more than anything else, is in the red zone, where now he's had 2 touchdowns in the red zone where he's been really patient and hit his 3rd and 4th option down there. I think that's showing itself to a higher completion percentage down there. And I think the other thing is he's taken what's available to him instead of trying to do too much. He was late on the throw to Stefferson on the pick. He'd like to have that one back. But other than that, I think what you're seeing from him really is take what the defense gives you.
Maybe having a number 1 back is a little bit overrated, but is it hard not to look at Josh Adams as a true number 1 back right now?
He's good. You can call him whatever you want. Yeah. Number 1, number 101. I mean, it's one of those things where, Folston had 10 carries, and Adams had 10 carries, and Williams had 10 carries, and you can make the argument should he get 20. But Folston's a pretty sharp guy too, and Dexter's explosive. So I think we'll keep it balanced in there, but Adams looked good today.
How quickly do you turn your attention to Michigan State?
We get 24 hours after we walk into this locker room. So we'll be back at it as coaches a little bit sooner than 24 hours. The players get 24 hours. We'll get in tomorrow around 10 a.m. We'll finish up the film, and by noontime we'll be thinking about the physicality of Michigan State and the rivalry that we have, and and know that that's going to be a great game.
And it almost seems a little unfair. They've only played one game. It's against an FCS. You only have them on film for one, and then you guys have played two. How do you feel about that issue?
Yeah, we know what they're going to do. We know what Mark's offense is about and what they do defensively. So even though there's only one game on film, we clearly know what their identity is.
Coach, kind of piggybacking on Teddy's question, how far, I know this was a rinse and wash game in terms of get through it, extenuating circumstances with the short week. How far is this team right now from being at that Michigan State level?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think, it's hard to – here's what I know. We're going to get better each and every week, Al. We're a younger football team in certain areas, but, we've got enough guys that have played, enough football that they know what it's like to play a Michigan State, too. So it's not like we've got a bunch of guys that don't know what it's like to go up against a physical Big Ten opponent like Michigan State. But there's other guys that don't know what it is to get punched in the mouth by a big physical team like Michigan State, too. So there's there's still growth that's going to happen with this football team as we evolve. But I like its will to prepare. I like its resiliency. We got a really good quarterback. That's always good to have one of those. I don't know if you guys know that. That's a good thing to have when you go into a game like Michigan State. And as long as we continue to evolve defensively and get better there, I think we got a fighting shot against anybody we play.
Brian, over here, you mentioned the short week and the solid week of preparation. For the defense coming off the Texas game, and Isaac said it wasn't really rocket science what they had to do differently from Sunday to today. What sort of did you see in their preparation this week that led to what we saw today?
Well, they were really sore. I mean, they were physically sore, so it was important that, there was a concerted effort on everybody's part, players and coaches, athletic training staff, nutritionists, our strength and conditioning staff. This was a collaborative effort from everybody within the program to prepare the football team in a manner that we would still get enough work for Nevada, but also make sure that they had the ability to recuperate from a very physical game on a short week. And so that's really what was the key to us being able to play and feel like we weren't lethargic or we weren't heavy-legged or couldn't get off to the kind of start at, the half being up 25-0. So I credit our players in the way they handled themselves, took care of themselves, and they had the will to prepare, and that's why we were able to win today.
What did Tavon bring to the will position today?
I'll have to watch the film, but Tavon is, he's a young player that's still learning. I thought when Greer got in there, he played a lot more football than we thought he was going to play, and it was good to see him in there and play really. I thought he played physical, and not that he didn't play physical, but he was a physical presence in there, and I like the combination of Coney, Martini, Bilal, seeing more guys in the game. I think it makes us a better defense, and I think moving forward, you're just going to see a combination of more guys instead of maybe just one or two guys in that rotation, other than maybe the middle linebacker and Niles Morgan.
Brian, to your left, did you know that Jerron Jones had hands like that? And what do you think that it means?
I don't know. He came up to me. Now he wants to play tight end. I knew it was going to happen immediately. I didn't even listen to your answer or question.
Right.
Once I heard Jerron Jones
understandable.
and hands. What was that again?
What do you think it means for him to get a play like that, and how would you assess what he's done?
He really has pretty good instincts. What do they say in baseball? Don't throw weak stuff to a weak hitter, right? Don't throw a screen to a guy that's not pass rushing. Jerron Jerron knew he's really, when we go against Jerron Jones, we do not run any screens. He sniffs out screens really well. He knows when a lineman is setting for a screen and he's setting for pass. He's got really good instincts, and you do not want to mess with that guy with a middle screen. And he just has a knack and a sense, like he does on blocking extra points. Like, we never run screens against when Jones is in. We never run our middle screen. He just has a really good sense for it.
Brian, wondering, obviously easy win, but were you frustrated at all by there was some mental mistakes? I think he had two offensive pass interference calls and missed point after.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little more upset with Durham Smythes than I was C.J. Sanders, because I had just gone over it with him as to what I wanted him to do. We don't coach running into guys on those routes, and he kind of ran into the defender, and that's not what we do. That's not what we coach, and so I was a little miffed at him on the play, and Khalid Kareem's late hit was, just an inexperienced kid, and so those are frustrating. But we worked through those in particular. I thought a couple of the penalties defensively, were big gains for them, that they had really done much offensively and gave them some pretty good field position. But I think a couple of those penalties were frustrating in that's not what we teach, and we made it known to them that they got to clean that stuff up.
Thanks.
Anything else, guys? Good.